Hey everybody, this is Tulip, and I'm wondering, how can this be a family podcast talking about hell, Hitler, and anal?
This is Cassidy, and this is hell. Act accordingly.
And you are listening to The Good News, the Gospel According to AMC's Preacher.
We are on Season 2, Episode 4, Viktor.
So, I think we have pretty differing opinions. I'm going to ask you to rate it first.
I think so, too. I kind of do have a lower rating because it is, a middle book episode, but there were some scenes in this that just totally hit home for me. So I rated it a 4.25 malfunctioning projectors in hell.
Okay, so I gave it the rating I gave it because I couldn't bring myself to rate it higher or lower. So I gave it 3.4 out of 5 cloying Billy Joel songs.
Wow.
I think this is probably my lowest rating ever for a Preacher episode.
I think so too. Wow.
So we've talked a lot about middle books, and this was really a middle book for me, but it wasn't a very satisfying middle book.
Yeah, this was, like I think we've talked about on our other shows before, that this was one of those books or the shows that didn't have a lot of a lot happened, but not a lot of forward momentum.
I'm looking forward to next week.
I'm looking forward to the entire rest of the season. I love where this season is going, and I found my Preacher book 1 finally, and I was kind of reading through it kind of after the episode tonight, and there is really, really, really not a lot in book 1 that is in this season that we've seen. Well, in the show that we've seen so far. So I'm actually going to go ahead and order the rest of the books and try and kind of figure out where we are with this, because it is nowhere near the book, at least book 1.
Well, I think it's in that fine tradition of The Walking Dead, which is, yeah, we've got this source material and we're going to draw heavily on it, but we're not going to stick with it verbatim.
Well, and given the source material, they absolutely could not stick with it verbatim. I'm surprised they're getting away with a lot that they're getting away with.
I'm glad they're getting away with everything they're getting away with, and I think they're just going to continue to push the margins.
It has seriously, yeah. There's been some laugh out loud moments in the shows lately that just I'm surprised. I mean, either AMC has carte blanche or they are just not watching Preacher.
I hope it's the first and not the second.
No, the censors aren't watching Preacher.
Well, but speaking of just not watching Preacher, if the censors aren't watching, I'm kind of worried that the fans aren't watching either.
Well, what were our numbers?
So that's where I'm headed.
Yeah.
On the premiere date, which was Monday, July 10th, there were 1.186 million viewers.
Wow, that's down from the last episode, isn't it?
It's pretty low, yeah. And so I looked at the Live Plus 7 numbers. It did not make the top 25 for Live Plus 7, so I couldn't find Live Plus 7 numbers.
Ouch.
It did not make the top 25 for the week, not even looking at the Plus 3 or Plus 7 numbers. And in comparison, Game of Thrones on its day, 10.1 million views on the same day.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely suffering from even being in the same week as Game of Thrones, but...
Do you think the source material do you think the material in the show just isn't resonating with people?
That is definitely my concern, and we've talked about that before. I just am worried that maybe it's too intricate, and I don't want to insult people by saying too smart, but in some ways, too smart, too snarky for the American public,
Yeah, and I think we discussed it in season 1 where this was this is a show made for fanboys,
right? By fanboys for fanboys.
Yeah, Seth Rogen and I'm blanking on his name now.
Evan Goldberg.
Evan Goldberg.
Yeah.
are total Preacher fanboys, and they're the ones who brought this to the screen for us. And, you know, we worried about if they were going to get too into the show, like into itself, you know?
Right, gazing at their own navels. Yeah.
I actually joked in the episode when they saw God in the commercial for the Katrina relief.
It's this episode.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, wouldn't that be so meta if God was playing as an actor playing God?
Oh no, you found my good inside joke.
Oh, okay.
We'll go there. We're not going there yet, but we'll go there. Okay.
We'll go there. But I was like, that would be so them. That would just be something meta that they would do. So I am worried that they're getting too into themselves, and it might be hurting the show's numbers. But
and it's interesting because I'm a member of that American Gods Facebook page that I was talking to you about earlier that has the tarot deck that is so beautiful. If anyone's interested in American Gods, there is a woman in this group who is crowdsourcing a tarot deck, and it's just gorgeous. Her art is amazing.
Artwork, yeah.
Anyway, you know, someone said, what else should I watch? And so several of us were like, Preacher, you should be watching Preacher. And it's really gotten a pretty even split. There are people who are like, nope, hated it, can't watch it. And there are other people who are like, yeah, it's amazing, we love it. So it's not resonating as much as I would like it to.
Well, and you know, there's a lot of people there's a lot of shows out there that are like that. I love Game of Thrones. You don't.
Right.
You know, it just the material isn't for you.
But Game of Ones has 10 million viewers as compared to 1 million viewers.
Right. It's also got the production value and the star power, and yeah.
I think that we will not be speculating about season 12 of Preacher like we're speculating about season 12 of Walking Dead. But I am hopeful that Preacher still has some life left in it.
You know, I really think that it does. I don't know what it's up against on Monday nights now, because I'm one of those that just records shows and watches them when I want to watch them, or I'm busy binging on the latest Netflix series. You know, staying up for 13 hours.
I'm gonna moan and groan. So the Rachel Maddow show was higher rated in the Live Plus 7 ratings for the week of July 10th than this was.
Okay, but considering what is going on in our national politics,
but we're talking about July 10th, so it wasn't as crazy as this week.
Every week is crazier than last week. Good for you, America, for watching the dang news. And I know she's not a newscaster. She's an opinion...
She's a commentator.
Yes, thank you. I know. Send your complaints to Brian Williams, care of NBC Studios.
Right. At the 11th hour.
So, yeah, I don't know why things resonate with people and some things don't. I mean... I generally don't like reality TV shows. Ugh. So, but again, I also watch Big Brother UK.
Right. We were
not Big Brother US.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but I mean, I don't understand, Jersey Shore or the Kardashian. I don't get that. So, but they're super high rated. So, in fact, one of my Facebook memories, I think, was, how does Jersey Shore get another season, but good shows like Firefly or something don't? So,
well, I have to say I'm sorry. All you have to do is look at America right now to see why that's a yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of watching TV and reading books and things is our escape. And, for some people, they would like to see themselves as a Kardashian, Me, I want to live in a world where, vampires exist and some guy can command people to do things just by the sound of his voice.
And you can kill someone with a corn cob.
or make a bazooka in your arts and crafts hour.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
title. So the title is pretty much a no-brainer, right? But
Right.
then the other thing I was doing was kind of playing with Victor. Winner, to the victor goes the spoils. I don't know if there's something bigger in terms of Victor's name or not. So I think that's something we need to watch.
Yeah.
But
The spelling
otherwise,
is interesting.
it's more of a Russian spelling.
Ah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to belabor writer and director. The director was Michael Slovis, and we talked about him last week because he was the person who directed Damsels.
Right.
And then the writer we have actually talked about before as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I didn't even write down his name. That's really funny. Craig Rosenberg, I think it was.
Yes, Craig Rosenberg. And he's primarily, at least known to us for the Preacher episodes and miscellaneous crew on Lost.
Yes, exactly. So he's got writer and producer credits on Preacher and miscellaneous crew on Lost. But there wasn't much new about him on IMDb, and we've talked about him before. But I did pick a featured cast member, and I thought it was really interesting. So I picked Noah Taylor, who's the guy who's playing Hitler.
That's
right
who
on.
I wanted it to be, because I have a story about it.
Okay, so this is crazy, and we may be going down the same road. But Noah Taylor played a young Hitler in a movie in 2002 called Max.
Oh, wow. No, I didn't catch that.
And what's really crazy is I wrote down, as I was taking notes, Hitler, tortured artist, right? So what do they say in IMDb about Max? Well, it's kind of an alternate universe movie where he plays Hitler, quote, as an angry, tortured artist, not a fascist dictator.
Oh, my goodness.
So he's kind of reprising his role, which is interesting.
That is super interesting.
I chose him in part because this was such a Hitler-centric episode, which feels bizarre to say that. But also because I was a little appalled that he was sympathetic or funny as a character.
You know, though, it's one of those things that's kind of like, you know, they say never meet your heroes or whatever. And it's also kind of like never meet the villain, because the villain is the hero of their own piece. They're always a sympathetic character to themselves, you know.
Well, and there are very few villains, and I'm not saying, God, please don't send the hate mail. I'm not saying Hitler is not, but there are very few villains who are pure villains.
Right. There's always a lot of people who opine whether or not if Hitler would have, you know, become an artist, would we have had World War II. So
well, and I got the sense that was kind of the spin in this movie Max that Taylor was in. So I'm interested in potentially watching that at some point.
Yeah, and I can't believe I had never heard of this movie, because it's got John Cusack and Lily Sobieski in it too. So, like, where did that come from? Where was I in 2002?
Right. So the other thing that I wanted to say about him was that he is a Brit/Aussie. His parents are Australian, but he was born in London. And the place that once I was reading his IMDb that I really remembered him from, he played the young Helfgott, which was the character in Shine that Jeffrey Rush played.
I don't think I've seen it.
Oh my god, it was such a good movie. So Jeffrey Joffrey, I can't remember how he pronounces his name. He won an Academy Award for his performance as the older person, and this was a true story. And Noah Taylor played the adolescent version of this person, and it's an amazing movie. It's totally worth going back and watching it.
Huh.
So that was just all very interesting to me, but you said you have a story.
So one of my laugh out loud moments in this show was when they were in the office of the actor's agent, and Cassidy's like, "It's for Game of Thrones."
Right?
And because I'm such a big Game of Thrones fan, so I'm actually rewatching the first, I'm rewatching it from the beginning as I'm watching season 7.
And that was another inside joke. I know where you're headed with this.
Yes, so he actually played Noah Taylor played a character on Game of Thrones. He played Locke.
And he looks like he has quite a number of episodes.
He did. He was kind of and I don't know the books. I've just watched the show, but he was kind of a pivotal character in the books in that he, spoiler alert if you're not through season 3, which we're in season 7, you should be.
Fast forward for about 10 seconds.
He takes the hand of the Kingslayer. And he takes off the sword's hand for Jaime Lannister, and so like that, that's kind of a pivotal moment for that character. And so I was like, I know this guy from somewhere. And yes, I had just watched this episode like a day ago.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I was like, I know the guy who plays Hitler from something, and I also know him from Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
Right, and I remember him from those movies.
Yeah, and so I was really, really hoping, because I was like, I have another character that I want to pick out, but I definitely wanted Noah to be the character of the episode, because I'm such a huge Game of Thrones fan, and the Hitler character that he is playing seems so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really loathe that he's made Hitler an interesting character.
Right? That's what I said. It's appalling that you have some empathy for him.
Yeah. And that is this book. That is Preacher. Preacher is shocking.
It totally is.
I was totally excited to see what Hitler's hell was going to be like, and I was kind of disappointed.
So a couple of other things that were interesting about Noah Taylor before we head into our different breakouts for the episode. So he apparently is a songwriter. He also plays the viola, the French horn, and the guitar. He's been in multiple bands. He was in the movie Almost Famous, and he is one of Cameron Crowe's favorite actors.
Interesting.
He's known for the Lara Croft movies, which you mentioned. He also was in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes.
And the TV stuff that I recognized immediately from his IMDb, Peaky Blinders, which I haven't seen, but I've heard it's really great. It's another one on the list somewhere. Game of Thrones, which you mentioned. Hatfields and McCoys, the miniseries, which looked really good. And he had a few episodes in The Borgias.
Yeah. Haven't seen a lot of those.
Well, he had quite a number of credits, but those were the ones that I picked out immediately that were familiar to me.
Right.
But he's an interesting dude, and just remembering that I had such a powerful reaction to Shine, and that he was so great in that movie. Watch it if you haven't seen it. Be prepared to be bummed out, but watch it. I mean, it's beautiful and funny and tragic all at the same time, and I think ultimately it's uplifting, but there are some pretty hard moments in that movie.
I was going to say, it's going to be one of those you kind of have to be in the mood for.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
So what's your good? What's your gospel?
So, my other character that I really, really liked, and I'm going to spoil another show for you guys. I don't know if you have seen the show on Netflix. Huge reception because it was very, very controversial. 13 Reasons Why. I
have not watched that show. I'm interested, but I'm also reluctant, especially because I work with so many teenagers. So
yes. So it was a very, very good show. I will warn you that the second to final episode is very, very tough to watch.
So trigger warning now.
Yeah, I mean, to the point where I actually turned away from one scene. So, yeah, it deals with some very hard issues for anyone, let alone teenagers. But the guy in hell that plays Tyler, that is harassing Eugene after everything in hell breaks down, I was like, I know him from somewhere. Where do I know him from? And of course, I click onto IMDb, and I was like, he plays a douche canoe in another movie or show that I've watched. He plays the most horrendous person in 13 Reasons Why.
Well, he must have been typecast then, because he's not a very nice guy in this either.
I was like...
He's appropriately housed in hell.
So his name in 13 Reasons Why is Bryce Walker, and his name on the show is Tyler. On Preacher is Tyler. They really, really should. I wish they could go back and rename him Bryce.
Oh, that's funny.
Because we would all know why he was in hell.
Oh, that's really perfect.
I mean, I looked at that and I'm like, you deserve to be there. And I know but I would love to see what his hell is, because of course he's just a horrible person, but he's like Hitler. Like, his most horrible things that they did, that those people did, is not the worst parts of their lives. Like Eugene's,
Right.
Eugene is so remorseful for what he did, and it was the most horrible day of his life, and it was the most horrible thing he had done, and that's his hell. But that people like Hitler and Tyler, it's always some little self-loathing moment in their life. It's not killing 6 million people or doing whatever Tyler did to get to hell. It's going to be something that's petty and self-serving and
self-absorbed, navel-gazing, as it were.
yeah. It's so it's such a funny good that I absolutely love that this guy is in hell, like, because of another show.
Well, but I hope we get a chance to see his hell. I mean, that actually makes me really interested now to see what exactly his hell is. So I hope they explore that.
I'm really interested in everyone's hell. Like, they have a character, and she's just called 50s hair.
Oh, and the one who's got like the cat eye glasses and the big curls,
and the pearls. I'm like, okay, what'd she do to get there?
So I want to kind of talk about Eugene for a minute, because I'm not sure that Eugene belongs in hell.
He doesn't. No, and
I mean, he's there because Preacher wished him there.
Preacher sent him.
Right.
Yeah, Preacher ordered him there. So no, he doesn't belong in hell.
Or does he? I mean, I'm still not entirely sure that his memory, his hell of the Tracy Loach experience is really the truth. I think it probably is. Eugene seems pretty genuine, but...
Well, and that also brings up the interesting... Technically, wouldn't he be considered a suicide, which is like a mortal sin?
So he certainly struggles with the whole idea of mortal sin, even though he didn't complete his suicide. Yes.
Right, but like, look at that movie with Keanu Reeves, where he plays. That's gonna bug me. Constantine.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Constantine was a suicide, and he was going to hell no matter what, even though he didn't succeed in his suicide because of the attempt.
I was just like to tell you, by the way, that hell is a barking Great Pyrenees and a husband who ignores it. Go ahead.
Every once in a while, my lab goes out and barks, and I text my other half, because it's 8:45 here, but as we're podcasting, it's Friday night, so I'm like, she can go till 10. It's fine. It's still super light here at 10 o'clock. It's like daylight out. There are still kids playing in the cul-de-sac. Right. So if you're going to complain about my dog barking, I'm going to complain about your kids playing kickball at 10 o'clock at night.
All right, but back to Keanu Reeves, back to Constantine, back to hell.
So, all the little loopholes that get us into heaven or hell, or, the minor things that we do or don't do, I personally don't think that he belongs there, but, he could possibly meet the criteria. So.
Well, we are in a universe where God has gone missing, so I bet the criteria for getting into hell are pretty loose.
Well, it is overpopulated, so. Yeah. So that was my good, is I absolutely loved Tyler's character. And he reoccurs in my good and my bad and everything. So I will let you go into what your good was.
So my good was really similar. It was basically just the whole idea that we can all get swept into someone else's hell. I really liked the scene where Eugene was observing Hitler's hell.
Yeah.
And where he was kind of swept into it momentarily. So I like that, and that was what made me think, maybe Eugene is just a bit player in Tracy Loach's hell. Maybe the stuff that we're seeing over and over as him, visualizing his own hell is not really his hell, but maybe it's Tracy Loach's.
Oh, that is so interesting because
It's so
if
meta.
he doesn't, it is because if he doesn't belong there, how do they have his hell cell prepared?
But the other thing is I think you're right. I mean, I think when you get down to it, we all kind of create our own internal hells. I mean, isn't there something kind of smallish and self-absorbed that you just beat yourself to death over?
Yeah.
Because I've definitely got that stuff, and I think
You're
that if
your
I...
own worst judge.
Right, if I died tomorrow and someone was playing my hell, it would be the stuff that other people don't see as particularly huge, but I think I see as all-encompassing.
Right.
So I think even if you don't necessarily, quote, belong there, you still have your own tapes of hell that you play in your head.
Right. Hell is what you make it.
Mm-hmm. So I really like the idea of people just getting sucked into other people's hell. I thought that was really interesting.
Well, and I think I said the last episode, I really liked this vision of hell, that it was just a cell that you are in where the worst moment of your life is played over and over. It's not fire and brimstone and molten lakes of tortured people. It's your own personal hell.
Right. Let's face it, Hieronymus Bosch is gorgeous and really interesting and kind of creepy, but what it really is probably ultimately is all of us playing our own hell in our heads.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So what was your Job? What was your bad?
My bad has Tyler in it again.
Okay.
And it is the end, somewhat of the end scene with Eugene.
Where they're all kicking Hitler?
Yeah, where he joins in. And it speaks to the nature of fear, of compliance, of, just being part of the mob and going along to get along. I totally get it. Like he was threatened. I absolutely love the line. In fact, I really, really want to hang a sign at work that says, "This is hell, act accordingly." Where they threatened him with the hole. And that does seem like it's the molten lakes of tortured bodies.
Oh, you're right. Good catch.
Yeah, so he was threatened with that. And considering I don't think he deserves to be there, I get why he joined in and acted accordingly. You know?
So I have another question for you, though, because while I was watching that, I was like, is he just pantomiming for the camera? I'm
maybe.
not entirely sure that he was actively joining in. I think he might have been pantomiming.
Yeah, he could have been.
But I don't know.
And the look that Hitler had on his face, he seemed like such a sympathetic character that he didn't want Eugene to get in trouble. He didn't want Eugene to go to the hole, so he invited him into his hell until the cells were fixed. And so would Hitler be okay with Eugene kicking him to keep out of the hole, or was he disappointed that, Eugene wasn't the nice, sympathetic boy he thought he was?
Or again, was Eugene just pulling one over the underlings that are running hell?
Or do any of us want Hitler sympathizing with us?
Well, I didn't write it down, but doesn't Eugene say something like, "You don't seem that bad"?
Yeah. You don't seem like such a monster or bad guy or something. Yeah.
Which kind of actually leads into my Job, so I'm going to take it. I touched on it already, but it's just basically that this whole thing is creating this conflicted picture of Hitler in our heads.
Yeah. Whoever thought that we could be conflicted about Hitler? Now I want to watch that movie, Max.
I do too. We might have to do it as an off season. I think that would be fun. We still need to watch our Pollyanna McIntosh one. Ugh.
I need to watch the second one.
That's a Walking Dead reference if you're not a watcher.
Like Noah Taylor, the guy who plays Hitler, he does other amazing things besides being Hitler.
Right.
So that just goes to his acting chops.
Right. Exactly. Well, so what was your revelation?
So, and I didn't even realize it until a third to a halfway through the entire scene, and I rolled it back to watch the whole thing over again. When Jesse and the Victor's torturer Pat are fighting in that room because Pat has earphones in.
Right, playing Billy Joel. Which I like Billy Joel, but that song is horrible. Okay, go ahead.
That is a one shot.
What do you mean?
There are no cutaways. That is not a bunch of scenes pieced together. That is a cameraman and the two actors moving around the room around each other, never breaking away. That was done all in one take. And it was amazing. Go back and rewatch that one scene and watch the camera work and the effects and the stunts and everything. And it was very well done. It's like watching a dance, and it's just something I really, really appreciated. My compliments to the director and the cameraman and whoever coordinated that scene. It really blew me away. Like I said, I didn't even notice that it was what it was until a third or halfway through, and I'm like, they're not doing cuts. This is one take.
That's cool.
I was really, really amazed by it. So that was an amazing scene.
Excellent.
So what was yours?
Well, so I felt like it should be the big reveal of who Victor was, but that's not what it was. So, you know what you said earlier about God being an actor playing God and how meta that would be?
Yes.
Okay, so I couldn't figure out why I was taken by the name of the actor, which is Mark Harlick. So I looked it up. Oh. He is actually an actor. That a man with that name is actually an actor from Hamilton, Texas. And I was like, okay, that's a really funny inside joke. That's got to be an intentional choice. Well, he also happens to be the actor who plays Victor.
Oh, my goodness.
So how meta is that? They named their actor who plays God after a real actor who's actually playing Victor.
That is super meta.
Isn't that funny?
What a good catch.
I thought it was such a good inside joke, and it just was a fluke that I caught it, because I was like, that name must mean something. I need to look that name up.
Very, very good catch. That is funny. Awesome.
So good on Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg and the author Craig Rosenberg for, the writer Craig Rosenberg for fishing that out and making that happen. That was really funny.
That was very well done.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's from Hamilton, Texas on top of it. It's perfect.
I wonder if they know each other somehow, just all of the different things that are connected in the shows that were like, oh, that person's from that movie and directed. And it was funny. I was reading something on Shawshank Redemption the other day, and the director was Frank Darabont.
Right,
and
we talked about him recently.
From The Walking Dead.
Yes.
It's it's all connected.
Well, the really funny thing is we were talking about navel gazing and just how into themselves Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are kind of getting with this. And I can totally see them kind of gathered around, rubbing their hands together, going, let's name him Mark Harlick.
Well, do you know why? It's because they're all lizard people and they're out for world domination.
Right.
Through the media.
They're Rosicrucians or reptilians or... I loved Cassidy's little conspiracy rant. I thought that was really funny.
Oh, that was so funny.
And we're kind of headed into rotting potpourri anyway. I guess this isn't rotting potpourri. This isn't Walking Dead. We're headed into the Word.
The Word.
And so that was really one of mine, was that his little conspiracy rant kind of took me to my loathing of Alex Jones and my loathing of all things reptilian and conspiracy, and it was just funny. I laughed.
Which is why I actually tagged you in the video.
Yes, that was perfect. That was perfect. Funny. I need to post that on This Conversation Rocks, because people will understand and appreciate that.
So yeah, I absolutely, because I love a good conspiracy, you know.
Well, I
and
do too, but I think they
you
go too
have
far. I think saying that there are child sex rings in pizza
no,
parlors
yeah,
and on Mars,
but
I think that's
you
too
have
far.
a vampire with looking for God talking about how lizard
Ranting
people are
about lizard
right,
people. You're
right,
right. You're
and that
right.
the insidious white coats aren't trying to take over. It's the lizard people.
Right. Yeah, the white coats
Yeah.
probably don't even really exist according to Cassidy.
No, there's no weird religions out there trying to take over the world. All hail Xenu.
Don't get mad at us, Tom Cruise. So what was in your word?
So I kind of, when Tulip went into Victor's office and she was sitting there and Victor and Pat were behind the closed door, did it sound to you like the kill floor that Odin kicked Cannon?
Good. Yes, I didn't think about it that way, but now that you mention it, that's a really good callback.
Yeah. I felt like it really, there was a lot of similarities there. And
Yes.
I was like, I kind of miss Odin.
Right? I haven't thought about him since we finished last season, but yeah, he was a bizarre little character, and it's kind of sad that we don't have him in our universe anymore.
You know, and I was thinking, are we going to see some of the people? I mean, Odin's in hell, right?
Oh, good
Right?
point. That might be where we revisit some of the Anvil people.
And creepy dude on the bus is in hell.
Right? And you gotta
And,
know
you know,
Donnie and his wife are in hell.
oh, yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, we have, like, they have to. I mean, even as a little side joke where, you know, they're walking in the hall and see him, like, it has to happen.
The actor playing God being named after the actor who plays Victor. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was really hoping. Once I had the little callback to Odin, and I'm like, oh, I really hope that like we see some of these people since we've been in hell. And are we going to heaven to see the actor who played God? Like that is the only way they can christen him. So
we might, and I think we need to see more of the angels, and I think we need to see more of their hierarchy. So I think there's a very good chance that we'll be visiting both realms.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, did you notice that they had a new open?
I did. The music?
The music was the same, but just the cinematography and the way that they kind of introduced everybody in the opening credits was new, and I really liked it.
They added something to the music.
Did they? Now I'm going to have to go back and watch it again. I was taken more in by the imagery that they used in the credits, and I loved it. And I was just, last week, I was really happy to see the regular music come back, so.
Right. What is the little plunger thing that they put on the trumpet in jazz?
Oh, it's a mute. It mutes the trumpet.
So it had, at the very, very end of the episode, it had a little bit of that sound to it. Or not the episode, the music in the start of the episode. So they added a little bit to the instrumental.
Well, hopefully they'll use the same open with this next episode, so we'll get to watch it again.
Well, and you know, like I was saying, I was reading that they filed the paperwork to film season 3 in New Orleans, so I think we're staying in New Orleans for a while.
I think that they have made New Orleans really fun, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Yeah, and New Orleans is an amazing place to begin with.
Have you been there?
No, it's on my bucket list, but it's got so much rich history and culture and just architecture and music and food, and it's just yeah, I mean, to have some place, I'm so lucky to live where we live in Alaska. It's beautiful and wonderful, but to have something like Louisiana, you know, where like people still speak French. They speak Creole French, you know, like Dennis, he was speaking French.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even his name, so the way that they spelled his name on the Preacher Wiki was the French spelling of Dennis.
Ah.
Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, they're interesting. It's interesting they're spelling character names differently kind of according to their character. Dennis, Victor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Very interesting.
yeah.
So let's see. What else did you have?
Um, did you kind of catch anything with the guy that was trying to repair the projector
That
in
was
hell?
in my notes. So I was like,
Okay.
what is that guy in Eugene's cell actually doing?
Yeah,
Because he seemed like he was a little hinky.
yeah, I almost think he was there to like rescue Eugene or something. He kind of was looking at
Oh.
he was kind of looking at Eugene like, oh yeah, this will take a while. Like, just sit tight.
Yep.
It'll be okay.
Yep. I thought
Yeah.
so too. I thought there was definitely something more going on than just, I'm here to fix the malfunctioning projector.
Yeah. Yeah. And I absolutely loved the scene behind, and I can't find her name
Oh,
now.
the Asian woman?
Miss. No, it's not Miss Mannering.
I didn't write it down, but I know who
Yeah.
you're talking about. Yep. Who I'm sure we'll see again.
Yeah. So, and like at first I was like, okay, what's wrong? Like, is there something wrong with the sound on my TV?
Right,
Because her
they
voice kept dipping
yes.
into
Yep.
that demonic tone. And after about the third time, I was like, okay, it's the show. Like, it's supposed to be there.
Right. It's
And
not
so
me.
I'm super interested to see more of her too. And she's like, you don't want who to find out.
Right.
And so, of course, I'm assuming they're talking about Lucifer.
Right. I would assume so as well.
I absolutely, like, I would be totally fine if this entire rest of the season just focused on Eugene being in hell. Like, hell is so interesting to me.
We're going to spend more time there. I mean, I think there's plenty going on there. And it looks like Noah Taylor is in a number of episodes. I didn't count to see if he was in all of the remaining episodes for this season, but he's got a lot of work for this season. So we're going to see him quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that was, I like I said, this episode did not have a lot of forward momentum, but a lot happened, and there was a lot of really interesting and really laugh out loud funny moments for me. So that is why I rated it so high.
So,
And plus I had a really, really bad day, so
so Preacher
I
was
needed the
awesome.
laugh. Yeah.
So did you find numbers?
I did not.
So this time I actually did the numbers.
Excellent. I noticed a lot of the other inmates had inmate numbers basically, but I found that they're just too long to try and track anything out of.
But if you look at it, and I guess I'll go to those first because that's as good a lead-in as any, they all have the same prefix, 3762117. And then the numbers that correspond with each individual person are the last two numbers on the shirt.
Oh, okay.
The last two. So I looked up 3762117, and there's nothing that really corresponds to that. But if you notice, Hitler's number is 88. Well, if you know where I'm headed, right?
Yes, I absolutely do.
So if you know stuff about skinheads or
Unfortunately.
neo-Nazism or like White Aryan Brotherhood, the numbers 88 are 8 and 8, which stands for the 8th letter of the alphabet, which is H, which is Heil Hitler. 8
Right.
is Heil Hitler. So I was like, oh god, that's intentional. That's totally intentional. That was
Absolutely.
also repeated in the cards when they were showing the cards. I think it was Eugene and Hitler that were playing, and they both laid down 8s.
Oh yeah.
So
double
both
eight.
of those cards were 8s, and I thought,
that was actually I think at the poker table when Tulip interrupted the guy at
okay.
Victor's house. Okay.
I think you're right.
Because
So I
he
wrote
was
down
doing
cards,
the
but I didn't
crossword.
write down who it was. So
Yeah, Hitler was trying to do the crossword that was already filled in.
oh, right on. So the other thing that was really interesting is I found out in the Bible, 8 and 8 equals 16. Well, 16 is the number of love and loving, the duality of true love. And what this Bible website said was basically the duality of true love is you both physically obey the 10 Commandments and you follow the spiritual intent of God's law. So 8 and 8 is 16, true love. So I thought that was really weird. You've either got the Hitler reference or you've got this huge biblical reference, right?
Well, and what did we start to see in Hitler's hell?
Love.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Yeah, super creepy.
Okay, so the other thing with the numbers on the shirts, the bully's number was 72. What'd you say his name was again? You thought it should be Bryce, but it was Tyler.
Yeah.
So 72 is a significant number throughout the Bible. There were 72 disciples, not the apostles, but disciples of Jesus. There were 72 races descended from Noah. There were 72 languages that created the confusion at the Tower of Babel. The oldest known written version of the book of Revelation had 72 chapters in it. I mean, there's just all of these references to the number 72 in the Bible, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, that's got to be intentional somehow, too.
So, but get this one. So this is the last one that I found, which Jesse makes the comment that he's got 137 jazz clubs left to see.
Uh-huh.
Okay. This is from a website called the KabbalahStudent.com. Not long ago, I was learning with Kabbalist Rav Berg at his home. We discussed the most important number in all of physics. That number is 137. Oh, sorry, I transposed my numbers. No, he said 137 jazz clubs. I might have misspoke and said 173. It's 137. So 137 is the biggest mystery and most important number in all of science, without question. 137 refers to electrons and the odds of an electron absorbing a single photon. Or in Kabbalah simple language, it's about vessel and light, or the physical body of man and his ability to light ignite from his soul.
Wow.
So I was like, that's really heavy. And then I found this other site that talked about all of the different references to 137 in the Bible and about it meaning amen, Eloi, amen. I don't speak Yiddish, you guys, or Hebrew. I'm really sorry. But it just kind of shows all of these things at this website that correspond to the number 137. So I thought that was really interesting. That website is www.biblewheel.com. So, once again, this may have been unintentional. The 72 may have been unintentional, but definitely 88 and 16, I think, were totally intentional. I think it just goes back to there's nothing that's throwaway.
No, and I only did the one watch tonight, and I'm so high strung from such a bad day that I did not catch any numbers other than I knew that each individual inmate had a number, but Eugene's really didn't find that much. Now I might have to go back and figure out if the last two numbers of Eugene's mean anything.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
So I thought I would do the numbers so I could be a little conversant with you, and I'm actually really glad that I did them. So there you go.
They're super interesting. Like when you find something and it is so dead on, you're like, that has to be intentional. Like, of course, Hitler's 88. What else would he be?
Right? I mean, that's totally dead on. As soon as I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, 88? I know that from prison lore and from all of my morbid fascination with true crime and skinheads. And so I was pretty sure that my recollection was accurate. And when I was looking it up later, yeah, it was.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So I did not have anything else. Did you?
Not really. I think that pretty much covers it. Not bad. An hour or so on a middle book. So we did pretty good.
Yeah, for an episode you didn't rate so highly. Dang.
Right. Well, I love me some Preacher.
Yeah.
Even when it's not great Preacher, it's still great.
Yeah, it's like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's still good.
Right.
So our next episode is entitled Dallas.
Which I'm sure is for the city, but there's got to be more.
Right. We've actually seen the city of Dallas before. So, the man in the white suit, right? That's where he's from.
I remember it being mentioned. I remember it being talked about. I think last season Tulip met her friend who wanted her to kill her husband. No, she met her in Houston. She didn't meet her in Dallas.
Okay.
So I don't know. We'll have to see what Dallas brings us.
Maybe it brings us the Saint of all killers, like we saw in the end of the episode.
Sure, because Jesse was using the word. He used the word multiple times in trying to save Tulip.
Tulip, yeah.
And what does that do? That draws the Saint of all killers right to him.
Yep.
So
we should see. Well, Tulip.
To the end of the world?
To the end of the world.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Have a good one.
Left his body